Happy December 13th for this morning's pre-work story time. We are going to be talking about Christmas Eve traditions. If there are other ears than your own in the area, this is probably a good one for headphones. But don't worry, we're going to do advent calendar and another story beforehand, so you've got a few minutes. Housewives, let me just say, if you've ever bought a big bold lipstick like fuchsia, this is your message to wear it, because I am feeling this color. When I bought it, there was just a bunch on sale, so I just grabbed a bunch of colors. I didn't wear it until like last month, and I put it on to do a short, and I was like, oh, this is actually a really good color on me. And I still haven't worn it since until this video. And then I put a gloss over the top, and I had no idea that I would be feeling fuchsia like this. My confidence is just through the roof because this is a bright color and it looks great on my skin tone. Color matching matters. But if you've been nervous about trying a big, bold, bright color, start with whatever one you're comfortable with and just get used to it. Just do it. Look in the mirror, feel good about it, and go on to the next big, bold color. You have got it. So today's advent, let's see what's in here. I've got, oh, speaking of bold colors, oh my gosh, it's called Rhapsody. It is a whole color. It looks luscious, and it is a bold dark lip. Oh, this is gonna be such a fun one. It may not actually be as bold as I thought it. Ooh, girly. I might have to incorporate this in the next couple days. This is a whole color. I don't know what color it's gonna end up being on, to be honest. It is very, very, I think, bright with like a pinky. It's not very red, I don't think. That is awesome. Again, not one I would have bought for myself. And a collagen mask. Alicia killed it with these. I am gonna have the best, softest lips this next year. I can do probably one a month and not use all of them. This is gonna be awesome. All right, now is the segment when this is for alone time. I absolutely love Christmas, and I love doing Christmas with kids because it is just the most magical thing you could ever imagine. So I wanted to share some of my family's Christmas traditions for Christmas Eve and Christmas night, some traditions that I intend to begin once I have children, and how some really cool things got started across the world regarding Santa. One of my family's Christmas Eve traditions is that we were allowed to get up at any time in the morning, and we did get up anytime in the morning and open our Santa presents. My mom was really clever, and nothing from Santa was written on or wrapped. We always had our stocking, and every year we got socks in our stocking, and that was just like, we looked forward to getting socks. We got socks other times of the year if we needed it, but the Christmas socks, I think one year it didn't happen, and I was fairly devastated because I looked forward to my Christmas socks. That and Terry's chocolate orange were staples in our stockings. With our stockings, we always got a big Christmas present from Santa, and that would always be just unwrapped on the floor. One of my favorite parts of Christmas morning is that we as kids were allowed to get up at any point in time in the morning to open our Christmas presents from Santa and our stockings. We weren't allowed to open anything from mom and dad, nothing that was wrapped or under the tree. It was a free-for-all for the stocking and the Christmas presents from Santa. So my sister and I would get up anytime between like 2 and 5 o'clock in the morning, and we would run out there and we would tear into our stockings and whatever our big present was. Then we would usually go back to sleep until we would probably still wake up fairly early, like 8 or 9, and my mom would get up and do breakfast with us, and then we would open all of our presents. It was really neat because throughout the morning we would get to have, you know, kind of a staggered Christmas and doing the breakfast with the family and still getting to enjoy those presents. And it was an interesting bonding time for my sister and I because we fought all the time, but Christmas came around, and as far as I know, if she watches this and corrects it, I might be sad, but as far as I know, we always got up or got the other person up together, and I didn't sneak out and like go look or open without her, which is something that we always did together. And whoever woke up first would get the other person up. I don't remember who woke up earlier more. I think it just depended on the year and like who was more excited. It was just an amazing bonding time to have that with her because it was just the two of us in the middle of the night, and we would open everything just by like the light on the Christmas tree. We didn't turn anything on, and then we would pass out generally on the couches. Like one year I got a hamster, and I brought the hamster cage next to the couch, and I just slept on the couch with the cage on the ground next to me. It's just a beautiful tradition that I definitely am going to continue on with my kids, you know, just to give them that little bit of like secret privacy. It was really neat to have that. Another tradition that my family does is we always open one present, mom chooses one present on Christmas Eve. And that was just such a special treat. I think for a long time she would tease us with it and it would be like, oh, well, we're not going to do that this year. And then by the time that we were teenagers, it was just part of the routine and the tradition. Like, okay, which present are we opening now? I remember when we were younger, there was a little bit of like back and forth and like, are we actually going to do that? And I just loved that we got to have like a moment that was just like our household, because Christmas always involved grandma and grandpa coming over, sometimes other siblings coming over or aunts or, you know, more people than just us. We said wait for them to get there before we could open everything. That's why we did breakfast. And so doing just that one little special thing with just our household and kind of getting to feel like we're like cheating the system was really neat. One thing that I really want to do with my kids that I actually found from a TV family is to make pajamas for everybody in the family, like matching pajamas. My friend's family buys pajamas from Old Navy and they always do mostly matching. I think that at this point they've gotten to where the kids are all old enough and have very individualized tastes, so they kind of get pajamas that match their tastes. But I love the idea of having matching pajamas, and I definitely want to do like matching nightgowns and night dresses for my kids. And if I ever get good at sewing, I think it would be so special to sew those pajamas for my family members and have that be something that they look forward to each year, is getting those hand sewn pajamas. I kind of mentioned it a couple times, but doing a really big Christmas breakfast where you're doing the full out breakfast, especially if your family doesn't cook regularly for breakfast because it is, you know, early in the morning and people have to go to school and work and everything, was a really nice tradition too, because it just kind of made everything super well rounded. And then we were full until like really late into the day, and so we only had 2 meals on Christmas, which maybe that was a tactic. It was so that we could all just like settle and digest for a while. One of the coolest stories that I was reading earlier has to do with the Santa tracking website. If you're not familiar with it, you'll have to look it up this year. Basically on Christmas Eve, there's a website that has a map and it's put on by NORAD. NORAD is like a space defense tracking or space defense branch of something. I don't really know what it is, but basically they put up this website every year that shows you where in the world Santa is on Christmas Eve. It's a really big deal for kids to get that visual cue, but the way that this started is so beautiful and magical, and it came from the 50s, which just makes it that much better. So I guess in 1955, a young child accidentally dialed the unlisted phone number for the Continental Air Defense Command Operations Center in Colorado Springs, Colorado. This little girl thought that she was calling Santa Claus after she saw a promotion in her local newspaper. The gentleman, Air Force Colonel Harry Shoup, who was the commander in duty that day, reassured her that she would make sure that Santa got a safe journey from the North Pole. You know, spend some time talking to this little girl to really like make her feel better about the fact that she had called for Santa. So for 3 years, they continued to basically be a call center for Santa on Christmas Eve. And then when NORAD was formed in 1958, they gave that over to them. So they've been tracking Santa for 60 years and helping little boys and girls, you know, feel good about and finding Santa and Santa getting his work done. And I just love that that started as such an innocent mistake from a child that they turned it into such a big and cherished thing for children around the world. That's really, really beautiful, and I absolutely love it. Another tradition that I feel like most families do anyways, but is really nice to kind of think about, is the Christmas cookies. We had a special plate and cup that were specific to Santa. We didn't use them at all except for to put cookies and milk in for Santa. And in the morning when we got up, there was always a bite or two or a whole cookie missing and the milk was lower. Like, that was a really important thing. I have seen people kind of add on to this. So some folks will leave carrots to take to the reindeer, and there's also like a reindeer trail mix that you can put together and sprinkle in your front yard or on your rooftop so that the reindeer have something to munch on too. which just teaches a lot of compassion to kids and really makes the whole thing way more interesting. I also love when people do the snow in the house and the boot prints in the snow, but I don't think we've ever had a white Christmas here in the Pacific Northwest, so that doesn't really work for Northwest kids. If you live in an area where you have snow, is that something that you guys do? Leave me a comment down below, because I would love to hear if it's something that actually like makes it more special for kids in places with snow. We don't get snow till February. It's a whole thing. January, February, we get ice storms. This is one that my family never got into, but promenades. That is a really neat thing that I think I will probably start doing every year. That'd be really fun to do with kids too. We also never did gingerbread houses, and it looks like a lot of fun, but it also looks like a giant mess. So I'm not sure that I will make that our tradition or if it'll just be something that we do sometimes. I know that it can be really fun as a kid. I think I've only made one gingerbread house when I was a teenager. Like, it was not a significant part of the holiday season for us. Another thing that I really want to do is like peppermint hot cocoa and movie night with the Christmas classics on Christmas Eve. I'm making sure that that's a big family thing, probably in the new pajamas. One thing that my sister started doing when her kids were little, and they're adults now, so she's been doing this like long before it was trendy, was she has categories of Christmas presents. So there's like something to make, something to read, something to learn, something to wear. She had like 3 or 4 of them, and she would get them gifts in those categories. And that I love, because it just teaches a lot of diversity and appreciation for not having a lot of things. The Nutcracker is another one that I want to be a tradition in my house. I am an absolute ballet fiend. I did ballet growing up off and on. I am obsessed with it, and born in a different life, I probably would have been a professional ballerina, honestly. It's so beautiful. I have never been to an actual ballet before, so I've never seen Nutcracker. I really want the first time that I go to be to the Nutcracker, and I want it to be this beautiful, amazing, special date night. But after that, I think it's something that I will probably make sure that I do with my family every single year, because hopefully they love ballet as much as I do and can appreciate the beauty of that show and the Christmas spirit and just how wonderful it is. Another Christmas tradition. It is a tradition, but I would like to boycott it. The problem is I can't boycott it. I get to be the victim of it every year. My family decided when I was 12 or 13, I have really great facial reactions and my emotions are just ginormous. So they decided when I was 12 or 13 that it would be super fun to trick me with every present. I'm not somebody who cheats with presents, and I'm not even somebody who really, like, I would try to guess, but not like really try to guess. And I don't know why, but they decided that I needed to be tricked. So the first way that they tricked me was they wrapped up one of the books off of my bookshelf, and it was the James Patterson book, and I was really wanting the next one in the series for Christmas, and they wrapped up one that I already had, and they wrapped it super obvious. It bent like a paperback book, and it definitely felt like a book. And I was like, oh my god, I got the next one in my series. But when I opened it, it was actually one that I already owned. And at first I thought it was just a mistake, and then I realized like how worn in it was, and I was like, this is my book. And then my mom was like, look inside of it, go to page blah blah blah, and there was a scavenger hunt within the book to get to a gift card for Point Shoes. You know, I had to like go through this book of different spots to find out what it was, which was really neat. But then they just got like progressively worse. So the next book in the series was in a Lunchables container with a sprinkles container taped into it as well, so that if you shook it, like, it made noise, and that's where my book was hiding. And every year they just get more and more, my word's ridiculous, their word is creative. And I think one year there was like a giant box, and taped to the bottom of it was a gift card. And there's been every type of noisemaker ever, so it is kind of a fun tradition. It's really fun for everybody else involved. It's not one that I plan to continue, but I feel like it's one that is going to be a part of my life forever. I think that even if my parents pass, my sister would continue it as well. That is one of our Christmas traditions, whether I like it or not.